It's going to be the jam roly-poly. In a mixing bowl, I've got 250 grams of self-raising flour. It's better to buy a decent one. It does make a bit of a difference if you can't afford to buy a decent one. To be fair, they're cheap enough in the supermarkets most of the time. I've got 50 grams of butter. It says unsalted. I don't think it makes any difference. And here I've got 50 grams of Atura suet. Okay, and then I've got 150 milliliters of milk. Now I'm going to combine all these together till they're completely together, almost like a breadcrumb. And then I'm going to add this milk, and we're going to make the pastry for the jam roly-poly. Okay, so I've mixed together the suet, the flour, and the butter. Now the butter's practically disappeared into there. It's took on like a breadcrumb effect. The suet's all mixed in. So I'm going to just get myself just a normal cutlery knife, and I'm going to tip 150 milliliters of milk straight into the pastry. Well, it's not a pastry, it's a suet mix. This will steam, and I'm just going to mix this up with a knife. I'm going to need both hands, so I'm going to have to put this down a second. I'm going to mix this up with a knife, and then you'll see what it looks like in a minute. Okay, so it's all come together now. I had to add about another tablespoon, maybe 1.5 of self-raising flour. It's gone a little bit sticky. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more milk. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more flour. It's exactly like a pastry consistency, which is what it is, but it's going to be steamed, so that's why you need the suet. It's a suet pastry. And here I've got quite a long piece of tin foil with a piece of greaseproof on top, which I've put some butter on. And the idea is I'm going to roll this, I'm going to cover it in jam, which I'll show you in a minute, and then it's going to be rolled up and it's going to be placed on there and folded. Okay, so I've rolled it into a square. Well, I trimmed the edges off just to make it neater, and then I've put some of this beautiful homemade jam in that was kindly donated to the Whittle household by Mr. Dave Rowlands. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Rowlands, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. So this is I'm gonna now roll this up, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so that's rolled up nicely. I meant to say before, with the square and you put the jam in, you leave around about 2 inches all the way round, so it's looking like a picture frame. The reason for this is because you need to pinch the edges, so we're just going to pinch these edges in. I'm trying to do it with one hand. Okay, I've put the seam on the bottom. If I don't do this, then obviously all the jam will escape. So I'm trying to do this with one hand, nice and neat. And we'll do the other side nice and neat. So that's lovely. Now I'm going to lift that onto there, and I'm going to roll it loosely. Okay, so I've lifted it on the tin foil and greaseproof, which I greased, and now this is really loose. The reason you do this loose is because this is going to swell, spanging. It's going to swell. So I've pinched the edges. I've made a nice packet out of this. You don't want you want the steam to stay in there. You don't want any of the heat to escape. So you know that's how it needs to be. Really, it needs to be nice and loose, and it'll swell, and you'll see the end product. This is now going to go in the oven. I'm just going to leave it to sit in the fridge for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put it in the oven once I've set it all up, and we'll come back to that. So what I've done here now, I've got my oven on 160. This is a fan oven. If you've got just a normal electric oven or a gas oven, you need this on 180. You need it on 160 for a fan oven. Okay, I've put a tray on the top there just to be doubly safe, it doesn't go through. And I've got on the bottom there a great big paella pan. If you've got a nice big tray, metal preferably, keeps the heat better. Half fill it with water from your kettle. This is going to be in there for an hour, so you don't want that to evaporate to nothing. And you just sit down the top. Sorry about the blurriness, it's steam from the oven. You just sit down the top, and I'm going to shut the door on it now, and we're going to leave it for 1 hour and we'll come back to it.